Hi, hello, I'm Sam Harrison. I read, review and discuss fantasy and science fiction books, and today we're doing my February recap, wrap-up. I don't really know what I call these. I think I used to call them wrap-ups, and then I was like, other people call them wrap-ups, maybe I should call them recaps, and we're straying too far from the point. What we're going to talk about today is the books that I read in February. We're also then going to diverge a little bit into YouTube stuff. So I'm going to tell you guys all about my YouTube stats for February. And finally, I'm going to talk a little bit about income and expenses for BookTube and book-related stuff. And I've got a couple of other updates that I just want to add on the end. So let's get right into things because I have 6 books to discuss here. So one of those books, maybe even 2 of those books. Yeah, I think both of those. So this month was bookended by Wheel of Time, and both books I ended up finishing in the following month. So Crossroads of Twilight was the first book that I finished in February, but I read most of it in January. Crossroads of Twilight ended up being a 3-star for me. I do believe it is the worst Wheel of Time book. It is one of those things where I talked a little bit about it in the full spoiler discussion with Matt, and we went into a little bit more detail. But really, my thought process on Crossroads of Twilight was that the structure of the book kind of front-loaded all the boring stuff. So you got, you spent literally, I think I didn't get to anything super interesting until like 60% into the book. So if that tells you kind of how overall I felt about the book and how it just didn't really work for me, hopefully, yeah. I feel like I've kind of articulated this enough in the review and in the full spoiler discussion, and I think I've probably also talked about it on the January wrap-up, because I did finish it like the 3rd of February, I think I finished it, or like close enough. So I probably did also discuss it in the January wrap up, but because I read some of it in February, I thought sensible to discuss it here. But moving on, so I'm pretty certain that I read Firefight next by Brandon Sanderson. So this is the 2nd book in the Reckoners trilogy. I say I'm pretty certain because I didn't actually record it on Goodreads, so I don't think I would have gone straight from Crossroads of Twilight into the Black Mantle. And also, the Black Mantle doesn't have an audiobook because it was I had an arc for that one. So I don't think that I would have. I think I would have listened to Firefight when I wasn't able to sit down and read my physical copy. So I'm 99% certain Firefight was up next, and I read Calamity later that month, so it kind of makes sense that it was there. Anyway, so Firefight was the weakest book, I think, in the Reckoners trilogy. I talked a little bit about it in the Calamity review, but Firefight was always enjoyable, but felt a little directionless, and like Sanderson was trying to shove a lot of lore into that book so that he could get that out of the way for book 3. And kind of, it felt like all the lore stuff happens in book 2. Like a lot of the big discoveries about how the powers work and what's going on with Calamity and why all the epics are evil, that's all in book 2. So feels like it might have been a bit more organic for it to be split further across, but I think what Sanderson probably wanted was for book 1 to be a kind of uncomplicated intro to the world and the characters, and book 3 to be like a bombastic ending, and he does nail both of those. But what that means for me is that book 2 needed a bit more improvement. I still think I gave it a 4-star. Maybe I would revisit that and say 3 stars down the line, or like at the end of this video. But for now, I think I'm pretty happy with the 3. I really enjoyed this entire Reckoners trilogy. We'll talk a bit about the final book in a minute. I really enjoyed the trilogy, and while the second book was the weakest, I did like a lot of the elements of it. Just kind of the way he told the story in that book didn't 100% nail it for me. Next up, and I've got a physical copy for this one, we have The Black Mantle by Andrew Watson. So Andrew very kindly sent me this physical arc. This is the first physical arc I think I ever got. First physical arc, because I've received advance, like, normal publishing copies from Orbit, who have been very kind to send me 3 or 4 books recently. So yeah, they have been sending me the like retail published copies just a couple of weeks early, whereas this one was an actual arc copy. I have got a few digital arcs in the past, and a few that have been directly sent to me, which was really nice. But this was my first like proper, this is an arc sent out to me, and Andrew signed it as well, which was really nice. He signed and personalised, and, you know, said thanks for all you do for us authors, which was very nice, because that's, you know, that is a huge part of why I have the channel, is so that I can showcase and focus indie authors and lesser known authors, alongside my own journey through what I consider to be like the pillars or the classics of fantasy, which is kind of a big reason for me starting the channel, was because I kind of felt like every YouTube channel that I was watching had already read like Malazan and Wheel of Time and, you know, Lord of the Rings and all these series, and I had only really read the Cosmere. I had also read Dresden Files, of the like big pillars of the fantasy genre, and hopefully in the next couple of years I'll nail it all down. Wheel of Time currently almost done. Well, I say almost done. I have 4 books left. And then Malazan afterwards, then Realm of the Elderlings after that is my current plan. Although I may end up just picking up Realm of the Elderlings books as I go along, because I do really want to read the Live Ships books, because I've read the Farseer trilogy. I've read Ship of Magic. I'd like to read Mad Ship, because I started it and put it down because I, at that point, read 4 Robin Hood books in a row. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the Black Mantle. So I felt like the Black Mantle was an improvement in basically every way over book 1. I really only had like nitpicks. I didn't have complaints at all. I felt like Andrew nailed his world building in this, like, to a really impressive degree. I really like the way specifically that he connects it all up. So there was very much like, oh, these demon shadow things in the desert, what's going on with them? Oh, they're related to this, and all of this comes from the fact that XYZ is happening. Being spoiler free, you know, I can't tell you how that all works or what it all is, but for me, the way he joined up the world building, the lore, the mythology, and the really smart use of flashback to expand that lore and world building, along with introduce us to 2 really pivotal characters, was really smart, and I really liked it. And we are in a very, very interesting place at the end of this book that I cannot wait to read the next one. Next up, after Black Mantle, I read Calamity by Brandon Sanderson, so 2 Sanderson books this month, and 2 Sanderson books in January as well, because I read 1 novel and 1 short story / novella. They call it a novella, but it's like 40 pages. That's a short story in my mind. Anyway, so Calamity is the finale in the Reckoners trilogy, and I thought that it ended well. I thought that the kind of big action set pieces, which are Sanderson's like bread and butter, and his endings again, which is, you know, his strongest aspect, kind of came together to end this book in a really enjoyable and fun way. It was not as good an ending as Defiant was for the Skyward series. That was much, much better. That was like an easy 5-star, can't believe he's done this sort of like fist pumping ending. Whereas The Reckoners was more like, oh, I kind of feel like there could be more to do in this world, more stories to tell. Despite that, I did enjoy the book. I had a good time, and I do think it's worthwhile to read those books. They're really fast, fun reads. They're not super complicated. If you're trying to get someone into reading, you might want to, and they're like, say they're a fan of The Boys or Invincible or Marvel movies or anything like that, maybe give them The Reckoners as like an intro to Sanderson and be like, well, if you like this, maybe you'd like The Final Empire, you know? So I would really recommend the Reckoners books. I think, again, they are not going to rewrite the canon best books. They're not going to probably appear on my top 10 of the year, but I think that they were really solid and I had a good time reading them. Next up, we have my Once Was Willem. So this was an advance review copy that I was sent by Orbit. This was written by M.R. Carey. I do have an advanced physical copy of this one. However, I have put it away in storage. So basically, literally behind this camera, is a few storage boxes full of books ready to go on some bookshelves that I'm getting put in sometime this year. And it's in those boxes, although I think I said to Ross that I would send it to him. So I should do that, because I know he'd love it. So I will probably try and remember to get that done. Really enjoyed Once Was Willem. This one ended up being my book of the month. And I think it's the only 5-star read I've had in 2025. You know what? We'll chat right now because I've got Goodreads open. Any other 5 stars? No 5-star reads in 2025. And in fact, the last 5-star read I had was Wind and Truth. I've been quite stingy on the old 5 stars recently. I used to give 5-star quite a lot, but most of my book reviews recently have been 4-star, which is really interesting because 4-star is probably my average review because the kind of person I am. I'm just reopening my notes app to get all the stats here. The kind of person I am, I'm like really positive, and I don't read books that I don't think I'm going to like. And if I don't love books, I do try and force myself and push myself to DNF, even though it goes against, like, it makes me feel like I've wasted time when I DNF a book. But anyway, we're not talking about that. We're talking about Once Was Willem. Once Was Willem is kind of like a historical fantasy horror, where the main POV character is a zombie, or like a revenant. They have been risen from the dead through magical means, and the entire book is told from their point of view, but as like a written account of what happened, almost, if that makes sense. It's got some really heavy Christian themes, not like, it's not like, something that you would find on, like, I don't know, like what's his name, the Shazam guy. It's not like a movie the Shazam guy would be in. It is more like talking about like horror of Christianity and like Old Testament stuff and like biblically accurate angels and things like that. Super interesting world, and the kind of the mythology that M.R. Carey wove up and around, and some of the characters in this book were really fantastic. The fact that he managed to get a really strong story to build this kind of magical, horrifying world, and on top of that have these amazing characters, and it's like 350 pages or whatever. Huge recommend from me if you are into historical stuff, if you're into horror, or if you're even interested in like Christian like fantasy and horror kind of tropes, the same sort of stuff that you might see in I Am Reliably Informed, Between Two Fires by Christopher Buehlman. And Buehlman actually blurbed this book and talked about how much he loved it. My review for this book has done incredibly poorly, only like 85 views, which is really sad, seeing as the publisher sent me an early copy. I did review it on Goodreads and Amazon and stuff, but like sad that more eyes haven't been brought to how incredibly fantastic this book is. So if you haven't watched that full review, please do. Again, it is my book of the month, and I really loved it. So if anything I've talked to you guys about makes you feel like you want to read it, then I would really highly recommend it. Next up, I read New Spring, and I have a physical copy for that too. New Spring by Robert Jordan. This is the prequel novella. I have a really weird pronunciation thing going on in my head at the moment because my boss keeps saying the word premium instead of premium. So I kept wanting to say prequel. But no, this is the prequel novel to The Wheel of Time. I have a lot of thoughts about this, and I haven't actually shot my review for this because I'm kind of trying to line them all up. And Matt and I are having our full spoiler discussion on Thursday. So next week will be a little bit Wheel of Time heavy because there will be a New Spring review and then a New Spring full spoiler discussion in the same week. Wheel of Time fans, you can say thank you whenever you like. Non-Wheel of Time fans, I am sorry, there will be a Friday show. It won't be Wheel of Time related. Wait, no, it won't be Wheel of Time related. I have something much more exciting to discuss on Friday. Oh, but next week is the Wheel of Time week. Maybe I'll have finished the book that I want to chat about. Anyway, so New Spring. Lots of complicated thoughts about this. It was a much better book than Crossroads of Twilight. Jordan's writing quality is the same in both books, but the structure of this book is better. The length of this book is much better. And one of the things that I really liked about this was getting to spend more time with characters that I feel like we've not seen enough in the main series. And also getting to see, how they met, how they, bonded, as it were, and like a bit of the backstory behind both of them, and some more. We got to flesh out a little bit more of stuff with the Aes Sedai, which I really liked, and with the Borderlands. So yeah, that all worked really well. The things that I struggled with were, why did we get this book and not a book that was a bit more diverse from the main series? This just feels like it feels like a very bog standard commercial sellable prequel, or like first novel in a series, and Jordan did originally intend this to be a trilogy before he was diagnosed with the thing. I think he had cancer before he was diagnosed with the terminal illness. He wrote this and was planning on writing 2 books more, but this book was pretty widely panned, and he then discovered that he was going to pass away. Incredibly sad that we will never really see where this would have gone, and I think that the critics at the time were definitely being too harsh. Like, this is a good book, a really good book. If you pick this up as book 1 in a series, it would be incredibly intriguing. It would be it's very well written, and the characters are very well realised, and you would want to know what happened next. And I certainly wanted to know what happened next. Jordan could absolutely have spun up a second 15-book series based around this book, and I think it would have been very good. And it's kind of sad that Sanderson has said that, he's put the Wheel of Time down, and he doesn't feel like there should be any more books, because I do think that you could make more books in the sequels to New Spring, that would really work. But I've talked about this for a really long time, and I need to save a lot of these thoughts for my review, which you can watch on Monday. Monday, I don't know, it's Tuesday right now when I'm recording this because I'm in the office tomorrow. So 16th, does that sound right? 16th, 17th? One of those dates, whatever that date is, that's next Monday. So yeah, this was a really good book. If I had not read The Black Mantle, it would have been a runner-up for Book of the Month. Black Mantle definitely was the runner-up there. Black Mantle was way better than Calamity and Firefight, and I do think Black Mantle was better than this. Actually, tough. I would maybe tie Black Mantle with this. Anyway, so let's move away from books a little and talk for a few minutes about YouTube. So let me get the old notes up, because I can't remember exactly how many views I've got. So in February, so shorter month, but still a pretty good month on the channel. So I got almost 7,000 views in February. A great stat, great figure. I'm very happy with that. Subs, 51 subs in February, so less happy with that, I have to say. 50 is good. There were months last year when I was getting 30, but in the past I have got 100, 150 in a month. So 50, I would like to see more, but now we've passed the 1,000 subs we needed to be monetized. Subs are a bit less important. I do still, if you're watching this video and you're not subscribed, I would love it if you joined our community. And later this year, I am planning to do more stuff to actually make this more of an active community that you guys can participate in with me. So hopefully later this year we'll be launching a Discord, and we'll be launching read-alongs and that sort of thing. Yeah, maybe in May is when I'm kind of thinking about it. Watch hours this month. Good number of watch hours again, 753 watch hours. It is insane to me that people spend that much time looking at my face. More fool you, honestly. And income-wise, in February, had a pretty decent month. My projections for income for the channel were that for the majority of the first few years of the channel being monetized, I'd be earning around £15 to £20 a month of income, and most months now I am getting over 20, and in fact last month was a pretty good month, mostly because I dropped a new big Wheel of Time video, and my e-reader reviews have been doing incredibly well. And in January I dropped my top 10 books of all time. So a lot of the top 10 books, top 10 fantasy series of all time, and those have kind of contributed to a knock-on effect of February also being quite good for income, because people are still watching the January videos. So yeah, in February we made £28.21. And I bet you're all extremely excited to find out how much I spent on books in February. 0. Big fat 0. I spent no money on books in February. The only thing that I would say conceivably that I spent money on in February was my Audible subscription. So I have kept Audible running because I do use audiobooks to support when I'm reading a big long book. So when I'm reading a Wheel of Time book, most months the credit goes on a Wheel of Time. But if I'm reading Wheel of Time, it's really nice to be able to use the Whisper Sync with Amazon to be able to just pick it straight up on Kindle after I've paused the audiobook. I don't have to think about, normally with other books, I wait till I get to the end of the chapter in an audiobook or ebook or whatever, so that it's easy to pick up from on another device. But with Wheel of Time, sometimes those chapters are 2 2-3 hours worth of reading long, and I don't get those sessions anymore of just 2 hours of bulk reading. So Whispersync is mega useful to me personally. I would love to get that feature from a non-Amazon source, but for now, because I do a lot of my reading on Kindle, kind of does the only thing, they're kind of the only game in town for that, unfortunately. Probably Kobo does the same thing, but I have a Kindle e-reader and a Books e-reader, which I use the Kindle app on, because the Kobo app on Books is terrible. Anyway, so the best content for the month was the Wheel of Time So Far video for books 1 to 10. I had realised in January that last year I'd made a books 1 to 5 video, and people had really enjoyed it and really liked watching it, and I had not updated it. So I wanted to update basically my thoughts on Wheel of Time post having read the slog, and I will do another video for the final 5 books in the series, so New Spring and the last 4 books, the 3 Sando books and the final Jordan book. Really excited to, and there will also be like a full series review. That is going to be like 0 spoilers. My Wheel of Time video was like spoiler light. The one that I put out in February. So there'll be like a spoiler filled and a spoiler free and a spoiler light video on Wheel of Time coming out once I have finished it. I would like to do some stuff as well, like character tier lists and things like that. I think people like those videos, and I like making tier lists. So I've not done a productivity zone video in a really long time, so maybe it's time to get on that. My worst performing video was my review of Calamity by Brandon Sanderson. 3rd book in a unpopular series. Is, it is what it is. That only got 29 views, which I am sad about. Not as sad as the Once Was Willem video. If you guys haven't watched it, I'd love it if you could go watch, like, share, comment, etc. But that, I felt like that was a good book, and I think the Calamity review video was pretty good. So, c'est la vie. If you haven't watched that, but you haven't read the previous 2 books, you shouldn't watch it. But you should read those books and then watch all the reviews. Other updates. I have a couple of things that I wanted to talk to you guys about at the end of this video. So number 1 is my March TBR has just taken a huge shunt, because I did get sent an ARC copy of Empires and Dust by Ryan Carhill. So those of you who know me know that The Bound and the Broken is my number 1 fantasy series of all time. I have immediately put down both of the other books that I was reading, and I have started reading Of Empires and Dust. I'm about 10% in. I got it like late this afternoon, so managed to read about 10% of this massive book, 480,000 words, almost as long as Wind and Truth. Managed to read about 10% in a few hours today, so really excited to continue to read that, and hopefully my concentration and ability to just sit down and marathon read, binge read some fantastic fantasy book is going to kind of return a bit, because I've actually been struggling to get big reading sessions lately. I had a lot on my mind that is in any way book or booktube related. Been struggling a little bit, but have managed, like, for example, Third Rule of Time Travel is a great book. It's like 300 pages, and I haven't even read 100 pages of it in the last week. I've been reading every day, just not enough, Anyway, so, yes, that is the big update to the March TBR, which you aren't really here to see, but I just wanted to let you know. So the likelihood there is that that's going to push, at the very least, Wandering in Volume 2 into March. Knife of Dreams, I feel it is really important for me to read in March, what I will probably do is blast through Empires and Dust as quickly as I can, and then pick back up the two books that I'm currently reading, which is Third Rule of Time Travel by Philip Fracassi and Lux by Brandon Sanderson. Read both of those, because I'm almost a third of the way through both. Read both of those and post those reviews, and then go straight into Knife of Dreams. And if I have time after Knife of Dreams, which I don't know whether I will, I will read Mushroom Blues. So that's kind of the new structure for the TBR. That's the update. One final thing is, some of you who subscribe may have found me because I was on a BookTube Discord. So I wanted to mention this at the end, and I don't know whether this is a good idea to mention it or not. I have basically left BookTube Discord. So I was in Ben and Grace's, Overly Average Ben and Grace Dion. I was in their server. I was in Andrew Watson's server. I was in a few others, actually, to be honest. I think it was like 5 or 6 maybe. And I just realised, so I had a bit of a bad experience on one day on Discord, and I blocked the app from my phone for the rest of the day, because I was just like, I'm kind of obsessing over this thing, and it was unhealthy and it was affecting me emotionally, and so I decided to just block the app for the day. And when I thought about it the next day, I was like, oh, I actually got tons more done. Like, I filmed more videos that day than I was expecting to. I read more that day than I was expecting to, and I got some video game time in. I realised that I am, like, legitimately, like, I think I've been spending at least 1 to 2 hours on Discord every day. Every day, even when I'm busy. And so I felt like, because I have no self-control, I had to force it by just quitting the Discord. And I originally was going to be like, I'll just stay away for like a week and see if it makes a difference. But I'll be honest with you, my screen time on my phone has dropped by like over an hour every day, and I am being more productive at work. I'm being more productive with the channel. I'm reading more. So it's just meant that I've continued to stay away. I talked a little bit earlier about how I would like to start my own Discord server, and tentatively I'm planning to do this in May this year, which will be my birthday month. And I like to do something for my birthday every year, and this year it'll be launch a Discord. Last year it was run a half marathon. But yeah, so we launched the Discord probably in May. I've got a few. I've let a few friends in to just have like a impartial third party have a look at the layout and whether it makes sense, because I don't want to just throw something slapdash out there. I would like to offer you guys a ready built community with discussion channels and all that sort of stuff all set up ready. So I've left other BookTube Discords. When it comes to launching the Discord, I'm going to try and set some limits on my usage of the app. So like maybe give myself half an hour a day or something, because I did that on Instagram and that has really worked. So I barely look at Instagram anymore. I often will go in there to post and maybe to look through a couple of my close friends' stories, and then that's really it. So yeah, not having Instagram has been really useful, and having a limit on Instagram has been really useful, and I think I will do the same to Discord. But it will be a good place for discussion on the books that I'm reading, and sci-fi and fantasy and books in general. So hopefully I'll be happy with that, and I'll be happy to launch it in May. When I launch it, maybe we will launch it along with a book club or buddy read of some kind. I did like the way that Matt's Fantasy Book Reviews Discord book read-alongs were done, but we will see. That's everything for February, and also some AOB at the end. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. Please let me know what the best book you read in February was. I am always looking to add books to the TBR, so if I hear a pitch for a book that I cannot ignore, it'll go straight on TBR. If you have not liked this video, please give it a like, and if you haven't subscribed, I would love to have you as part of our growing and soon to be more interactive community. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll speak to you on Friday.